This is a true story. A chef was in the restroom when a giant wave suddenly capsized the entire ship. Harrison, who was sitting on the toilet, was thrown off, and the restroom was instantly plunged into darkness. Screams echoed from outside as fear and panic surged through him. Rushing out to assess the situation, he saw 3 of his colleagues desperately trying to open the hatch to escape. He wanted to help but was horrified to find that the water level was rising rapidly, and the hatch was firmly sealed shut due to immense water pressure. Realizing that there was nothing he could do at that moment, Harrison decided to look for a life jacket. He rushed into a nearby cabin as frantic calls for help filled the air. Grabbing a life jacket and a solar-powered light, he tried to leave, only to find that the door was also jammed due to water pressure. This meant that the outside was already flooded, possibly submerging the entire passage. Gradually, everything outside became eerily silent. The only sound left was the ship hitting the seabed. His flashlight soon ran out of power, plunging the room into complete darkness. Trapped, Harrison knew he had to wait for rescue, but as the water level continued to rise, he realized the oxygen was running out. Desperate, he decided that waiting meant certain death. He had to try and escape. Once the water pressure eased slightly, he took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and plunged into the icy water. Feeling his way through the pitch-black darkness, his hands suddenly touched the lifeless bodies of his colleagues. Panic surged through him, but he forced himself to stay calm. Miraculously, he managed to swim into an office space that had not been flooded. However, prolonged exposure to the freezing seawater made his body dangerously cold. To survive, he gathered floating wooden planks and mattresses, building a makeshift raft to stay above the water. Starving, he searched the room and found a can of fish and a bottle of cola. He had no choice but to wait in silence. The underwater silence amplified every sound, the movement of marine life, the shifting currents. He eventually heard a ship above, but instead of sending divers, it only dropped marker buoys before leaving. After 3 agonizing days, Harrison saw a light moving in the distance. His heart pounded. Rescuers had finally arrived. He used all his strength to bang on objects, making as much noise as possible. As the diver's light drew closer, Harrison swam toward him, only to watch in shock as the diver turned and swam away. Devastated, Harrison felt like fate had abandoned him. But then, another light appeared, this time even closer. He swam forward and grabbed the diver's leg. The diver, inspecting bodies, was so startled that he froze. After recovering from the shock, the diver guided Harrison back to the office and assessed the situation. Because Harrison had been exposed to deep-sea pressure for so long, he couldn't be brought to the surface immediately. He had to undergo a controlled ascent and spend 2 days in a decompression chamber before finally returning to safety. Harrison Okun was the sole survivor of the Nigerian shipwreck that claimed the lives of 11 others. Description: